today.
At all. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Almighty God, who has blessed us with memory, reasons, and skill, help us to use them wisely in the service of our town government. We ask this in thy holy name, amen. Salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight to the meeting. I understand we do have a group from the high school, I believe. You have an assignment.
Yeah.
You want to introduce yourselves and explain it, or are you just to observe, or?
Yeah, we're just to observe on how our government works.
Okay. We're glad to have you here. It's an organizational meeting, it's the first one of the year, and we do, a lot of appointments are made, so you want to understand all that. Okay. Glad you came over. I am assuming maybe someone would like to address the board?
Sure. If I may hand one of these to each one of you. I take it that Mr. Fowler isn't here tonight?
No, he's not.
Thank you. I'll leave one with you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you.
Usually he only comes if we ask him to.
Okay.
But if we know ahead of time, we usually ask him.
Yeah, Bart, if you would introduce yourself.
Yep. I'm Bart Van Leuven, and I'm currently the president of the North Country Golf Club. I'm here on behalf of the golf club in reference to the EDU charges that we are currently being assessed. As all of you know, the golf club itself is a tenant of the town of Champlain in reference to the parcel that the water line was put on. Since the first billing in, I believe, June of 2016, it has been our contention that we are not responsible for those water bills. I've had numerous conversations with you, Mr. Barcombe, a couple with Mr. Southwick. I've spoken to Mr. Moore on the phone, and I've spoken to Mr. Hurst on the phone. We are not responsible for these charges, as we are the tenant. And outlined in the top page of the document that I gave you are the facts that we believe are relevant to this. We are the tenant, according to a lease that is in effect until December 31st of this year. That's not in dispute. The town, in July of 2016, filed an easement, which is done on all the properties, my understanding, for the water line. And that document was signed by the town of Champlain and by the town of Champlain. That's another document that proves that the town of Champlain is the owner of the property. You also enacted a local law. I didn't write down the date, but I believe it was also in 2016, which states the responsibility for water rents. And it states that the owner of any premise which has supplied water shall be liable for the charges of the water used or other expenses in connection with such water service. The water charges shall be billed and collected directly from the property owner and in no case from the tenant. That would be us, the tenant. The definition of consumer under the local law means the owner of subject property being supplied the water in the town of Champlain Consolidated Water District. Attached to that is the tax map ID that lists the town of Champlain as the owner of the property in question. The other fact is that since we did not pay it, starting in June of 2016, the town assessed penalties associated with it, and at the end of the year, arbitrarily attached that EDU bill along with the penalties to a separate parcel, which is not hooked up to water, is at least, I would say, about a half a mile from where the water line ends. The property is in the water district, but there is no water line there. So we're here to ask that the town cease in billing us the EDU charges that we are not responsible for. If the town is unwilling to do that, then the golf course will have no other option but to pursue legal action against the town of Champlain. In light of the fact that we are attempting to renegotiate the current lease and renegotiate a new lease for the same property, it's our belief that that is not in the best interest of the parties involved. But we are not going to pay this bill, we are not responsible for it. So I'm asking that the town of Champlain acts accordingly so that we don't have to enter into litigation. We have an attorney that is willing to represent us in this action. I would hope that this body would not expect the town of Champlain taxpayers to have to foot a legal bill for something that, in my experience working at the Sheriff's Department in the Civil Division, is cut and dry. We are the tenants. We have an agreement with the town of Champlain for the property. We are not the owner. We are not responsible for these charges. So I'm asking the town of Champlain to notify us by your next board meeting, what date that is, whether or not that's acceptable or whether we need to go forward and commence a legal action against the town, which we do not want to do. But we are not responsible for these charges. I've attempted to do it outside of this meeting, outside of having to go to litigation, but that's the path that we are on if this can't be resolved.
Okay, I did review your current lease with our attorney. The current lease does state that you're responsible for all utilities. And
Okay.
our attorney, his opinion to me on the phone, whether water was a utility.
Water use is a
Okay.
utility.
I'm not here to argue the point.
Well, what are you here for then?
I'm not here.
Isn't that your
to
job?
argue.
We're here to listen to you.
I'm listening to you. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to tell you the advice that I received. Okay? And, our attorney, sent him a copy. I told him what I thought it was. I went and got a copy of it, reviewed it. It said all utilities. And our attorney, the legal advice to me was water was a utility.
Okay, we're not in dispute that it's a utility, and we're not in
Okay.
dispute that we are responsible for the usage of that water.
Okay, I understand. I understand.
Absolutely. We will pay 100% of all water usage bills.
Okay.
But we are a tenant at the property, and we are not the owner. And your own local law that you pass states that the owner of the property is responsible for those bills, and it should not be passed on to the tenant.
The very next time I talk to council, I will review the issue.
Okay. Thank you for hearing me.
Can you explain to me how you, or why, you decided to put the additional, the EDU charges on a parcel that's not serviced by the water district?
Do you know how many EDUs on that? On that, is this separate from your clubhouse? Or
We don't own the clubhouse. We've never owned the clubhouse.
You own the clubhouse, we own the land.
No,
Who
that's
owns the
not
club-
true.
Who owns the clubhouse?
Town of Champlain does. There's a tax bill that goes to us. But there's no deed, Mr. Barkle. The town of Champlain generated a new tax map number, divided, I think, .01 acres. .1 or .01?
There is no acreage listed.
None?
None whatsoever.
So you guys could tax us on the value of the clubhouse. We don't own the clubhouse. There's no deed to North Country Golf Club.
I know, I was not here that 20 years ago, whenever it was. I understand you had to get permission from the town to satisfy the bank loan, I'm assuming, at that time.
I don't even know about that. My question was this. Can we agree that the east, let's call it the east nine, the 9 holes that are closest to the Village of Rouse's Point?
Yes.
Which we own
That-
free and clear.
We own that,
Okay,
okay? I say we, Golf Course
Yes.
Inc. owns that.
yes.
And that's in the water district, but it's not serviced. And your law says in part, the owner of any premises, well, for the west part, that's you guys. I say you guys, us guys, Town of Champlain. The owner of any premises which is supplied with water shall be liable for charges.
Are you getting two different?
No, there's one bill. There's one bill.
One water bill.
We received one bill from the town of Champlain. We did not pay that bill. We've had this discussion. What happens to that if we don't pay it? You want to collect your money. You forward that to the county.
We had no other recourse, we had to.
Okay, fine.
But you're-
But you can't arbitrarily assign that to a parcel that's a half a mile from the end of your water line.
That is not serviced.
It's not serviced by water.
It saes the owner of the
You can't
premises.
attach it to the tax map for the property that the water line was put on because the town of Champlain owns that. And you don't pay taxes on that property.
The owner of the premises which is supplied with water. The East 9 isn't supplied with water.
Yet
There's no there's no water line over there.
That's the parcel that you attach the re-levy to in order to force us to pay the water bill.
The town of
Not to
Champlain,
mention that you, Mr. Barcombe, signed the easement in both spots. As the owner,
I certainly didn't own, I signed an easement for the second.
yes, the easement has been recorded in the Clinton County Clerk's office for the parcel in.
I think there's a copy of
Yes,
it
there's
in
a copy
this.
attached to that.
To the 9 holes that you guys own that.
No,
For the clubhouse, for the water line in question.
But the other 9 holes that you own, closest to Russ's Point.
Yes, there's no water to that.
There's no water there, it's a half a
From the town
mile
of
away.
Champlain. We
So,
have water from the village of Rouse's Point, but not from the town of Champlain. It is inside the water district.
but it's not serviced.
I understand. We do have a very similar case to that one then. One other one.
I don't care about other cases.
It's.
You, as the town supervisor, have filed an official document, recorded it in the clerk's office, stating that the town of Champlain is the owner, and that you're acting on behalf of the town of Champlain for that easement, and it's been recorded. There's a copy attached to it. There's also a copy of Dick Cole's, which is right next to the golf course, where Mr. Cole signs as the owner.
That's
It's
for
just
reference.
for reference.
Okay.
Okay? We, as the golf course, did not sign any document for an easement allowing the water line to be put on that property. Why? Because we don't own the property. I don't want to sue the town of Champlain. It's going to be counterproductive to what we're trying to do. But if that's what your attorney is telling you, then I guess that's what we're going to have to do.
I was not aware that the 9 holes that closest to Rouse's Point is being charged if your water's not available. I wasn't aware of that.
It's not being charged.
That's what the
It's not being
EDU
charged.
was
That's what
levied
the
against.
levy was put on. You're not understanding what I'm saying?
There's no water charges
We didn't-
that were sent to us for us as owners of the East 9. Because it's not serviced by water. I mean, your own law says properties which are, water is supplied. There's no water supplied there. But the bill for the West 9, for the property that the town of Champlain owns, which we didn't pay, was levied against a parcel that doesn't have water service. And it was levied on a parcel of property that's owned by somebody else than the parcel where the water goes.
Understand?
I just speak because I do
Yeah.
these bills.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm the one that does the bills for the EDUs. But the parcel numbers that I was given was from the engineers. So, I mean, I don't know if this is wrong, but that's something that we have to find out, because it could be wrong, but we don't know that. I mean, we were given these parcel numbers by the engineer, so maybe it is wrong. So, I mean,
Well,
that's
and
something.
what do you mean by wrong, Ms. Castine? I don't follow what you're saying.
Maybe this EDU charge was assigned to the wrong parcel, but
No.
we don't know that. for sure.
Well, we agree it was assigned to the wrong parcel, but it originated with the West 9, the one that borders the Hayford
That
Road.
is currently under lease with us.
And that's the parcel that North Country Golf Club leases from the town of Champlain.
Because looking at this tax bill, it says there's 64 acres.
There's two parcels, one's 80-something and one's
78.
78 and 64.
78 acres, which is the parcel.
Yeah, so it's showing on this, for the 2018 taxes, the parcel that they were re-levied for the EDU was on a 64.8 acre, 80 acres.
And the purpose of the re-levy is for the town to collect bills that
Yes.
that were not paid throughout the year.
Yes.
Was there any EDUs attached to the second parcel closest to Rouse's Point?
No,
No, not a.
There's no bill sent.
It's only this
I
one
didn't say a
bill.
bill, I'm talking the EDU bill.
no.
Yeah, a
there was not.
water infrastructure bill.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't get a bill for that.
Because the water's not there.
The water's not
It ends
there.
at the
So you're not
clubhouse.
paying an EDU for, the 9 holes closest to Rouse's Point?
We are, because that's where you levied it.
Attached it.
Okay, you got 2 different parcels. The EDU charge now is, I thought it was just for the 9 holes that we own.
It is.
See, I
It
don't
is.
know that. By looking at this parcel number, I don't know where it is. So that's what yous have to determine, to see if this is incorrect.
We know where it is, because we saw the water line go in.
I'm only going by what I was given to me
Yes,
by
I
the
understand.
engineers.
And you know where it is, because you signed the easement for the town to put a water line in to the town's golf course. The west 9 holes. And then when that wasn't paid, when you tried to get us as the tenants to pay for the capital infrastructure, we said, no. That's something the landlord has to pay pursuant to your own local law. And then you said, oh yeah, you're gonna pay it, because we're gonna put the EDU, the levy, on your other parcel that doesn't have water.
I went by legal counsel. Legal counsel considers water as a utility.
Well, you know what?
That's fine.
I don't care.
We agree
But
with
put it, then try to attach it to the lease. Putting it on a separate parcel has no connection to this is illegal.
I'm not engaging.
But
No, it's clear to me, the landlord needs to levy the EDU charges to the tenant, period.
You say in your local law that you
But
can't.
in your local law, you said you can't.
That's my opinion, that's my opinion.
Now,
The water charges shall be billed and collected directly from the property owner and in no case from the tenant.
in my
I
experience.
just quoted your law, Steve.
In my experience,
I'm talking landlord tenant.
yes, in my
That- I
experience.
just read you
We
what it said.
currently, you're the landlord, we're the tenant.
I can charge my tenant whatever I want to, irrespective of what you're talking about, Mike, you know that.
That's not what it says here.
I can
No.
build it into your rent.
Oh,
You
that's
can.
true.
That's
That's
true.
what I'm
That's
talking about.
true.
That's true.
But that's not what you did.
But that's not what you've
Okay,
done.
That's why I am not disagreeing with what you're saying, but let's just go down the path a little bit farther here and understand that somebody's gonna pay for that.
Yeah.
I don't
And,
disagree with
and,
that.
and,
Okay.
and if you wanna try to build that into the next lease, well, that's up to you. But you can't go retroactively and put that on the lease that we've been paying on for, how old's the lease?
Now we're back to legal counsel
5
again.
years.
I'm just saying, my interpretation of what you're describing, if I'm the landlord and you're the tenant, your rent's going up.
That could very well be.
That's all I'm saying.
And that's your prerogative, if you wanna double the lease next time, in December of
Let's not be
18.
sarcastic, Mike.
No, well, I'm saying, I don't know what it is. I'm just saying, if you wanna, if that's where your negotiating point wants to start, that's your starting point. And then we're gonna say, well, we can't pay that, so we're not gonna lease it.
We are currently in a signed lease agreement that's been in effect, I believe, for 9 years, correct?
Yes,
It's due to expire at the end of the year,
Yes.
correct? If there's a landlord-tenant signed document and either party wants to amend that or change it, then both parties have to sit down at the table and do that, okay?
disagree.
But in the
That's not what
meantime, you can't, in that situation, you can't arbitrarily force the tenant to pay those fees. Which is, I don't want you to respond to that, but on our side, that's what has been done by the town and Clinton County.
We need to straighten it out, and we do. I'm not disputing what you're saying, but I hope I'm not speaking for anybody but myself here, that this is dialogue that needs to happen as far as our end goes with Matt. You gotta understand that that has to be part of how we move forward with this. Same way you've got Mike engaged. Mike knows real estate law. So we need to be able to have some time with this document. That's too bad it wasn't given to Matt Favreau before.
That document was not given to Matt Favreau, but the facts were given to Matt Favreau. I emailed them to him after I dropped a copy off to Mr. Barkle, and I have not heard a response from him for 3 or 4 emails that I've given him.
Okay.
Okay, so I am losing my patience with the process.
Okay.
Yes, we have a year before the lease expires, but like I have explained to a couple of you in the past, we don't have a year to decide this. If we are not going to release the land that we're currently in agreement with you, we need to start to make arrangements to operate our land as a 9-hole golf course. That is not what we want to do, that's not what our members want to do, that's not what the community wants us to do. But if we are not going to come to some kind of agreement, like I've said in the past, within the next, at the most, 6 months, we need to start going in a different direction. And the town will get the golf course back. And you can do whatever you want with it.
Does that include the clubhouse?
Yes,
Yeah,
It does.
we don't own the
and
golf
good luck with
course
it.
for
Thank you.
with a deed, with,
I mean, if that's what you-
let's put it this way, we couldn't sell
We can't sell our
the
clubhouse.
We have an equitable interest in it because we have put literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in improvements into the clubhouse, as well as the golf course, but that's not anything we're complaining about. So we have an equitable interest in the value of the clubhouse. That's something that Matt and I have spoken out about informally on a couple of occasions. And I think that's indisputable. We've put, like I said, way over $250,000 in that, I believe. But we don't own it. That was done in a good faith effort by us to keep this ship afloat. I'm sure you guys have read or been told about the deed. It's an old deed from 38 or 36.
That's earlier than that, it's 34, I believe.
34.
1930s, I'm aware of it.
Where the Weston
Yes.
Estate gave to the town the West 9, we'll call it the West 9.
Yes.
But it's got to remain a golf course. Or it goes back to the Weston Estate, whoever might be kicking around that are descendants, and it must be returned to an agricultural status.
Well, to my knowledge, what I was told and understand, is it was not a golf course for 1 year and 1 day.
Yes,
Am I correct?
yes. That's the exact time frame.
Yeah, I was told that.
So if we end up at the end of 18, no longer utilizing the West 9 as a golf course, and it isn't run as a golf course by somebody,
Right. Understand?
then come January 2nd of,
We don't want, what we don't want is 2 golf courses in our town,
well,
okay?
what-
I'll stay.
okay, I'll say that too, but come,
We don't
so
either.
come January 2nd, 2020, I think would be the year and a day, Weston's owned that parcel, and the town of Champlain is responsible to put it back into agricultural status.
I understand. And that's not what anybody wants.
That would cost way too much money. And it would be, frankly, I was gonna say a blight on the town. I think in some fashion it would. Because as I said to you guys before, and not this gentleman, because you're new, but in the years that Dustin Beauregard, who unfortunately is no longer with the golf course, he's a member, but he's not our director of golf and
Right.
chief running officer, we've raised $500,000 for various charities. Most of them, all of them in Clinton County, most of them local. The Champlain Fire Department and hospice
I reviewed the list.
and et cetera. Well, we wouldn't be able to do that.
I understand.
So, I think we cannot pay that. We are freaking broke. Dustin, should I review this? Dustin has gone without a paycheck a whole lot over the last couple of years. As has another one of our employees who, through the graciousness of her own circumstances and heart, has gone without a paycheck. To keep that ship afloat.
Have you hired a new pro?
Yes.
No, oh, we did?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even know it. Who's the pro?
Well, it's not a pro, it's gonna be
Andy Fisher.
a clubhouse manager, golf manager.
Right.
Okay, so but not a PGA pro.
No,
Someone will be running the golf course.
yeah, somebody new.
And frankly, I didn't know that yet.
Okay.
So we're planning on going forward and keeping it open as best we
And if we
can.
don't come to an agreement, we're gonna keep our 9 holes open. Like I've told some of you, we understand that,
You made your point crystal clear. I can say that. The only thing I'm gonna tell you is, I'm gonna review this with our attorney. Okay?
and all that I can ask is I will be here at the next meeting and I would appreciate an answer by then, unless we meet the committee before that.
We should.
When's the next meeting?
We were on the right track. We have not scheduled another one.
Well,
A year, I mean, a
provided
month
the
late.
documents that you asked for, and you wanted Mr. Favreau to review those, so we're waiting for a phone call.
All right.
Is there another board meeting that's regularly scheduled?
It's every
Second Tuesday of the
Second
month.
Tuesday of the month.
I was talking about the committee
Oh, you
meeting
mean-
that we
Okay.
had, that we were getting together to propose ideas on how to.
I was not here at the October 10th meeting when
Right.
our support was here, but I did view it on I did view Calvin's recording of it, and Mr. Favreau did say that he would volunteer his services to be there, so I would appreciate if Mr. Favreau was at our next committee meeting also, and if Mike is available, I would ask that he be there. All I can say is that we want to renegotiate the lease, and we understand that the town needs to collect the EDU charges for all the water lines that are installed. We understand that. But the way it's been done, and the way that it's been attached to our parcel that is not subject to water service, it is in the water district, but is not subject to the water service, in our view, was done illegally. And I don't want to have to go down that road. We want to renegotiate a lease that's acceptable to both parties, that has a long-standing term, so that the people that are on this board can run the town of Champlain, and that the people who are on the board at the golf club can run the golf club. That's what I'm after.
I sure hope we find middle ground somewhere.
I sure hope that I don't have to have Mr. Phillips do the paperwork that I've requested him to do.
You know, Bart, I take it as a threat.
It's not a threat, Mr.
I
Barcombe.
said, I take it as one, okay? I understand your position. In other words, if we don't do what you want us to do,
It's not what
That's
I
what you-
want you to do.
basically,
what-
you told me tonight,
You
if
legally
we
should
don't
do.
agree to what you want, you're gonna litigate it. You didn't say that?
Oh, and you know what? That's not an unfair characterization, but what other recourse do we have?
Okay.
I mean,
I-
we're not gonna have,
For 3 months, I have brought this to the attention of you and a couple other board members. Since June of 2016, the golf course has been disputing this. We have had no action, no response from the town of Champlain in reference to this issue. None. Other than you telling me, well, what if everybody didn't want to pay their EDU charges? And my response to that is, if I own the piece of property across from the 10th hole on the other side of the road, and I own that, and I got a bill for the EDU charges, I would pay that bill because I was the property owner. That is not the case in reference to the bill that we're being charged.
I will. take a
So it's not a threat.
if you can't resolve it, if people can't resolve something, then the recourse is to go to court and have a judge resolve it.
I understand that.
Well, that's not a threat.
It'll be in,
That's the way civilized society carries on their business when they have a dispute.
excuse me. Does your lease, your present lease that's due, up at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Does it state in fact that you're liable for utilities?
Yeah,
All utilities?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I will review that with our attorney.
Well, and if that's what we need a judge to decide whether or not putting a water line is utilities as opposed to capital improvements and in violation of your own local law, where the landlord must pay it and the tenant doesn't pay it, you know what, I think we got a summary judgment thing going on here.
Okay, I will rely on counsel.
Should I take that as a threat?
But,
I don't, but I was just wondering if I should.
Mike, I'd be foolish not to rely on counsel, now you know that.
You gotta talk to Matt,
Okay,
of course.
I,
But you going to Matt and talking to Matt is not a threat, and we don't take it as a threat.
okay. You told me-
Nor should,
Basically, what you told me you were gonna do, if we didn't do something for you, you were gonna litigate.
well, yeah, but that's what we are supposed to do in a civilized society.
Okay, thank you.
We're not gonna go in the parking lot, I'm gonna pick him to be our warrior. Who are you guys gonna have? I mean, that's not the way things are done.
Mr. Barcombe, I have presented you with the facts that we see support our cause,
As you see it,
as I see them.
yeah.
And as I've said before, in my experience with the sheriff's department and dealing with civil matters, I would be surprised if Mr. Favreau does not see what I see with the facts that I provided.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
I'm telling you. what he
And
told
all I'm
me.
saying is that if the town chooses to not address the EDU charges, then we would have no choice but to litigate that.
But, just reading between the lines, so to speak, off the record. It was okay if we added that on to your rent, you wouldn't care, you'd have paid it.
No,
If
you can't go,
No, you can't
go
because
put it
we're on a
on
signed agreement.
the lease that's already in existence.
If you want to sit down at the table and renegotiate the lease and have that be part of it, then we'll sit down and talk about
I
that.
mean, you said if it was part of it, you'd have to pay it, it was part of your lease.
Yes,
Yes.
of course.
I
If it
understand.
was.
I mean, a lease is a binding contract
Yes,
that the terms of which each party must live up to,
yes.
of course. But that's not what the lease says.
The lease does say you're responsible for utilities.
Yeah.
And that'll end up being.
And we're paying the water bill.
That'll end up being a gray area that we'll have to litigate.
I
Okay,
don't think it's very good.
okay. Thank you.
Lady and gentlemen, I do.
You're more than welcome to stay for the meeting.
I'm on
It's gonna be a long one, so I'm not gonna stay.
Nah, whatever.
Whenever you're ready to.
Thank you, guys.
Do the committee meeting.
Take care.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch, Bart.
This is on your own part.
Yeah, we just need to review it. I'm sure there's a clear-cut reason why
Oh, I didn't miss that thing.
it was applied to a different property, but. Okay, moving right along.
Good experience.
Yeah.
I usually get that
But
live.
we have to put up with it sometimes.
There was a couple
Things that
times
we
I
have
wanted to
deal
laugh.
with, okay? We have to find middle ground a lot of times.
But there's actually something I would like to bring up.
Yes.
Just be aware you're on camera.
Okay, not a problem, not a problem. Go ahead, okay?
In Russ's Point, where the not breakwater, the pylons are, where the old railroad bridge used to be, there's no,
Run that by me again, so.
where the old railroad bridge used to be, the pylons. In Ross's
Where the
Point.
marina is now,
Okay, where the marine is, there's pylons?
it caught fire on top of the
Yeah.
pylons going out.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought you were talking about regular cones.
Okay, go ahead.
There's no green or red lights on it at all. So if you're traveling at night, it is a sketchy spot to go through because you don't know where the opening is.
I would assume that would be an easy issue, and I'm not sure of that.
I didn't know where to bring it, so I asked my social teacher and he said to bring it to a town meeting.
You talk about the pylons go across the lake?
Yes, where the old railroad bridge used to be.
Actually,
Okay.
pilings would be
Pilings, all
appropriate. Yeah,
Right.
pilings.
Islands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe they're out. Is there traffic?
Yeah, there's a channel for the traffic from anybody that wanted to go through from there.
Right.
It's sort of like the breakwater. There's nothing except at the end. So
Mhm.
between the land And the light at the end, if it's submerged, you don't know it's there.
Yeah.
It's the same, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I do a lot of fishing, and I've been out there at night before and trying to come through there. I literally had to sit there and go less than 5 miles an hour to go through there. Because I didn't want to destroy my boat.
This is in the summertime or this?
Summertime.
Pretty sure that's the speed limit through there though, isn't it?
I think, right, that's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah, it is a speed limit
It
through
is.
there. But I was actually doing underneath the speed limit because I could not see the pylons at all.
Okay, so it was an overcast night?
No, it was a clear night.
It was clear?
Does the town have responsibility to maintain a waterway on the lake?
No, but
No.
it would be the Coast Guard or,
DEC,
DEC, maybe?
yeah, but I think the Coast Guard
Alaska.
Okay.
puts the buoys out.
Right.
So I think that would be something they would.
That's an interesting point.
So we can inquire.
Okay.
Coast Guard and see what they
Are
say.
they out of the water now?
They're out of the water probably 10 foot.
Okay,
They're out of the water all year long,
even at high water mark, like,
even at high water.
okay,
There's only one spot that ever gets submerged, and that's on the Vermont side, and that's where it connects to land.
okay.
And that's usually almost all summer long it's submerged. But you're dumb if you try to go through there. They're only an inch underneath.
You would have thought they took the bridge out there, taking those out of there, you know?
There's so many of them, I don't think they would have wasted their money on trying.
No, but there is a safety issue.
Yeah, they are.
Safety issues override costs sometimes there, okay? Somebody got hurt, it would be worth the cost, not to have them there. you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? or-
No, I just wanted to address that.
Thank you for your input. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes, our regular board meeting on December 12th.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any questions on the board minutes, the regular board meeting on December 12th? If there's no questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Excuse me.
We had a end of year meeting, pay our bills and what have it, on December 27th, 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like a motion to approve if that's the desire of the board.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of December 27th.
Thank you. Go ahead. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions on December 27th board minutes? Those in favor? Opposed? That's also carried. And we had an emergency meeting on January 3rd of this year, a week ago, last week, I should say. Again, this is town business. I'd like a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions on the January 3rd board minutes? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also carried. Okay, we're gonna start with our appointments for the upcoming year. I'll give the list, then we'll take a vote on them. My recommendation that Brian Moore be the new deputy supervisor. The grants committee will be Brian Moore, Rick Hunter, and Mike Tatro. Water and sewer committee will be Stephen Southwick and Brian Moore and Mike Tatro. Highway committee, Steve Southwick and Brian Moore. Building committee, Brian Moore and Clark Hurdick. Emergency preparedness, Rick Hunter and Clark Hurdick. Handicap discrimination will be Brian Moore and myself, Larry Barkle. Town policy committee, Larry Barkle and Clark Hurdick. Zoning committee, Steve Southwick. Planning committee, Clark Hurdick. Landfill committee, Stephen Southwick and Brian Moore. Zoning and code officer, Mike Tate Jr. The registrar of vital statistics is Julie Castine. The budget officer will be Jane West. Harassment officer will be Jane West. Fixed access asset records clerk, Jane West. Youth director will be Linda Fredette. Cable franchise
Clark Hurdick. Dog Control Officer, Kaylee Mills. Fire District Liaison, Steve Southwick. Safety Officer, Mike Tatro. Board of Assessment and Review, Brian Moore. Parks and Youth Committee, be Clark Hurdick and Brian. Shared Services will be Steve Southwick and Brian Moore. And Historian will be Tom Vanderbilt.
Question.
Yes.
What kind of expertise does one have to be in charge of cable franchise?
I think you have that expertise.
Is that the cable, I use a chain when my vehicle gets stuck, I usually get a cable. That's my understanding of cable.
Cable franchise, we have an agreement with the
Spectrum.
cable,
Spectrum.
Spectrum now, yeah.
Okay.
And it's negotiated every 3 or 4 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay? So most years there'll be nothing to do.
Okay.
When that cable agreement comes due, then there might be something.
Sit down and talk about it.
Yes, okay. I haven't heard any complaints about it. Okay, so, yeah. So could I have a motion to approve those appointments as I read them off?
I make, oh, go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
I thank you. Any questions, anyone? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. We need a resolution to review and accept the town policies, the personnel, conflict of interest, code of ethics, sexual harassment, drug-free workplace, procurement, alcohol and drug, safety and health, investments, disaster response, hazardous material response, and hazardous communications. So we take those, as I read those off, in our policies that we have, people enforce. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the town policies as
Okay.
described.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also carried. We have to advertise the salaries of elected officials. The town supervisor's salary is $98,000.
Excuse me.
Council members are $6,150 each. Superintendent of highways is $19,503 for the elected position, and $36,693 for the full-time working position. The town clerk tax collector is $27,000. She has additional duties for the water and sewer clerk for $4,482. The planning and zoning board clerk is $10,192. We have 2 justices at $32,635 each. The marriage officer has $1,000. The youth director is $5,431.50. The Board of Assessment and Review, just 5 members, at $300 each, for a total of $1,500. Deputy Town Clerk Registrar is $1,000. Could I have a motion for those, please?
I make a motion to approve the salaries for 2018.
Thank you,
I'll second that.
thank you. Is there any questions,
I
any
have
of
a
them?
question.
Yes.
Town clerk, tax collector, water sewer clerk, and the zoning board planning clerk,
Mhm.
plus the, at the bottom, town, deputy town clerk registrar. That's 4 are all added together?
The last one is not,
Does not, okay.
it's not Julie's, it's.
No, it's James.
Okay.
The last one is James. James was
Okay.
deputy.
Okay.
Okay.
Julie has many jobs, town clerk, tax collector. Some towns they have separate, but most towns in the past 3 years have gone to having the town clerk also be the tax collector. Julie's also the school tax collector, which has nothing to do with us per se. It's just that we allow her to do her duties collecting school taxes here for the convenience of taxpayers that pay their bills. We can stop here and pay them, okay, 5 days a week. I believe I have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. I'll take some of these together. We're gonna set our regular meeting night. Day of the week will be Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month. The place will be here at the town office, boardroom. The time will be 7 p.m. Yeah, let's take that one separate. Do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion that we approve the set regular meeting night,
Thank you.
place, and time.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Designate the following banks as the fiscal depositories of town funds. We use Champlain National Bank, Community Bank, and TD North. Okay, we'll take some of these together. Designate the town Champlain official newspaper as the Press Republican, Plattsburgh Press Republican. Designate the official town attorney as Matt Favreau. We're also designating Matt Favreau as our town attorney for zoning and planning. Okay? The mileage rate for reimbursement, the IRS rate went up a penny. It's up to 54.5 cents per mile. Donations to veteran organizations will be $1,000 each.
$100.
$100. $10,000.
Correction, $1,000 each.
$100.
Excuse me, $100 each. Where I got 1,000? There's an extra zero on mine.
Your glasses.
No, there's not.
Yes. Authorized payment in advance of audits and claims for public utilities, postage, freight, and express charges, and all payroll deductions. That's the other one on your desk that we normally pay all the bills. We have those during the month, we can pay those. Okay.
So you want to approve all those ones that you said?
Yeah.
I'd like to separate out the official town newspaper as a separate vote.
Okay.
Understandable.
Okay, I'd like a motion to authorize those that I read, except Press Republican. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
And I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
I'll make a motion that we designate Plattsburgh Press Republican as the official news agency.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions?
Do I have roll call vote, huh?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Well,
I need to abstain.
we'll do a roll call vote.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to abstain. Rick?
Aye.
Brian?
I abstain.
Thank you. Clark?
Aye.
And Stephen?
Aye.
I am for myself, thank you. Okay, no one's attending the association town meeting in New York City this year. We'll do these next two together, I believe we can. The financial resolutions as follows. In lieu of filing the town's financial report by the supervisor with the state audit and control, he is authorized instead to file a copy of his annual report given to the state controller's office within 60 days of the close of the financial year. And further, he forward a copy and proof of publication of said report in the official town newspaper when filing with the said audit and control. Let's take that one separate.
I have a question.
Yes.
In regard to this. Is this also publicized on the Town of Champlain website? The actual annual report?
I don't know that, to tell you the truth. Do we have to advertise that one, though?
I
No?
don't think so.
No?
I don't think it's on the
It should
website.
be, but the
I would think it
website's
should be.
lacking.
It's difficult because we pay somebody to put stuff up on the website, and to keep up to date, we'd be spending a lot of money.
Okay.
But it's open to
No.
public inspection, anybody can.
Right,
Anyway,
right,
Yeah.
I figured that, but I just didn't know if it was made public on the web.
We have no,
Maybe we should share with you at some point the gentleman that's updating it and has put it in place. His name is Tyler Whitney,
Okay.
and he works for Plattsburgh State, and he has a side business as well. I'd like to share his information with you, Rick, because I was involved in that, but I'm not very adept, so maybe if you can find the time, take a look at it.
Sure.
There's access to certain aspects of the website that we have.
Yep.
Can be used to update calendar events and that kind of thing.
Right.
It hasn't been done.
I think it's just important for transparency purposes, so.
Yes.
We do have to,
Minutes as well.
Yeah, I agree.
within 60 days of the close of the financial year, we have to file with the state the report for last year.
Okay.
That's basically what it all is about, okay? Did I have a motion and a second on that?
No.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. The post-audit resolution. Authorize the payment in advance of audited claims for public utilities, postage, freight, and express charges, and all such claims shall be presented at the next meeting, regular meeting for audit, and the claimant and the officer incurring or approving the same shall be jointly liable for any amount disallowed by the board. Okay?
I make a motion that we accept the post-audit
Okay.
resolution, please.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's also carried. Okay, you have, Julie, you have, you gotta approve Jane as an appointment.
Yeah,
You wanna do that now or at the end?
it doesn't matter. I have a couple things. What are we doing now?
Go ahead.
Okay, the town board needs to approve Janice Letourneau as a marriage officer.
Okay,
So moved.
do I have a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
And then, I'd like to appoint Jane West as my deputy town clerk, tax collector, register of vital statistics, and I just need approval from the board for that.
Also,
Second.
Any questions on that one? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also carried.
And, well, I had got this notice from the state that, I needed to be reappointed for register of vital statistics, but he's already did that.
Okay,
Reappointments. And I think that's it.
okay, thank you. Okay. We have to approve the town clerk's monthly report, huh?
Right. I'll make a motion to approve the town clerk's monthly report for December 2017.
Do I have a second? During an audit several years ago, they advised Julie, if I'm correct, Julie, to give us a monthly report. Am I correct on that?
Well, I always gave the report, but I don't think it was ever approved.
She kept on file.
Yeah, it was kept on file, but you guys always got it, so now you have to approve it every month.
Okay, I just signed that. Do I have a motion on that, Jeff?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yes.
We paid New York State Environmental Conservation $4,877.29.
Yeah, those were, hunting licenses.
Oh.
Hunting licenses,
Oh, okay,
actually,
so everyone
just,
collected and you get to that, okay.
yeah, and the town gets $77.71 cents.
We don't make much money on that deal.
No.
So what do they charge for spraying and neutering? It seems like that's a pretty small amount as far as, this is just during this month of
Yeah, that's just for
December?
the month.
Okay,
Yes. So it might be zero some months.
yeah.
Well, normally in December, I don't sell a lot of hunting,
Right.
fishing licenses and
Right.
stuff, but just before Christmas, someone came in and did a whole bunch of lifetime.
Oh,
I
wow.
spent like $4,400 in lifetime
Really?
licenses.
Wow.
Now, was the state increasing the actual price of licenses? Or that
No.
They just decided to?
Well, it goes up, they did a couple for their children,
Mhm.
and when they get a certain age, it does go up in price, so they wanted to do it before
I
they
believe
got.
18 is $500.
No, it was, once they get 11 years old, it
Okay.
goes up, a lifetime is $765.
So,
It is.
You have one?
no, no, I buy one every year.
Paid at your age. Okay. I have a lifetime sportsman's license.
Everything is
For
set
life.
up.
Because I'm a full-timer, I get
One-time
it
ones, they
cheaper.
wanna do
Wow.
trapping.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on Julie's report? I don't think we approved that.
Yeah, I think it was the first.
Yeah, it was approved.
We approved it?
It was the first and the second.
Okay, thank you. You have your EMS report for January, as well as, second page, I believe, is the annual report. Over 1,000 calls. Unbelievable. EMS service, very valuable service. That's strictly for information. The JCO report of their activities for the month, very interesting. That's strictly for information. We need to look into this one again, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC, pertaining to the next scheduled annual sampling at the town landfill, the old town landfill, I should say. That needs to be done every year. We'll have to take care of that. It's at the top of the pile. You have your dog controls officer inspection report, strictly for information. The town requires that, excuse me, the state requires that annually.
There's reference made in here to dogs are euthanized humanely. That's not something,
What's this now?
dogs being euthanized humanely. Where does that happen, eh? Up here or no?
Well, they take it to the vet, don't they? If a
Yeah.
dog needs to be
You should
euthanized
ask,
for any
maybe
reason,
she really tries to.
Yeah, she usually tries to find a home for him, but if she can't,
if it's a big ugly dog, they can't get rid of it, you know.
but I don't think it happens very
Yeah, I
often.
don't think so either.
No, I think she pretty much finds a place for him.
Yes.
Yeah, she's really good about
Is there
that.
any communication between up here and the SPCA down at the road? They take dogs there.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if Kelly, I'm sure she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you read her monthly report, tell what she does as far as where she refers dogs to and how many.
She's on Facebook a lot too.
And what she shelters and, okay. Okay. Agamar report, that's strictly for your information. The superintendent of highways report, I see Alan receiving the highway superintendent on a daily basis. We had a bad weekend, so to speak, wind, ice, and snow.
Wait till the end of this week. Look at that forecast.
We had extremely cold weather for 2 weeks. We had a couple engines that needed babysitting to get them started, one thing or another, but we got through 2 weeks of real severe weather anyways. Okay. I know of nothing on committee reports. Does anybody have any to report on any of the committees? You can review your post-audit bills. We need to approve the monthly bills. I did go over them. Those 2 large items. If you will notice in here somewhere is second page, 5 or 6 lines down. It's work that Ware did for us on the West Silvers Road too. We did check with Anthony today to send those bills in, so they need to be paid. It's been a couple months, October, November sometimes. So that and the insurance, if you notice, workers' comp insurance was extremely, we pay it once a year, $32,000. That's why it makes the bill so high this month.
I have a question on the second page, under machinery, the Compass Minerals?
Yes,
What is that?
I believe it's oil. I'm not,
Just road salt?
not diesel fuel oil, but,
So it's just strictly road salt and there's,
Yeah, that's what they mix with the sand.
Yeah, we buy a lot of salt.
so how often during which calendar year do they make a purchase of this quantity?
oh, we buy, I'm just guessing now. We
Yep.
don't know the exact, $45,000 or more per year of
Okay.
salt. Am I correct?
It's a pretty good number.
It is
And
that
I
much?
think it gets delivered not all at once,
Yep.
so they get a
No,
chance
he-
to
yeah.
mix it in with the sand.
Doesn't he get
So-
it
so
with
do
the
our
county
town-
or something? He did get it with the county at one time, I don't know if he still does.
Well, it's on a contract.
Yeah, it's a state contract.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he, you know, when the county got theirs, he got his, I don't know if he still does, but,
Our salt all comes out of Montreal, it comes in tractor trailer loads, like 20 ton or better inch load. And it's roughly 65, 70 dollars a ton, I think, in that area.
Okay,
That was for 2 loads.
that was for 2 loads. Okay. And does, so our town employees actually mix it?
Yes.
They do? Okay.
Yes. As they, well, we mix some with the sand as they put the sand into the shed, salt shed,
Mhm.
and we also keep some pure salt on hand for special needs and stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
It's all part of the budget, that's for sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the monthly bills.
I second that.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
First page, approximately halfway down, reference is made to New York Rural Water Association. It's a membership fee.
yeah,
yeah, it is.
Mickey's a member of it, I know.
Okay.
No.
I think that's the same outfit that's been in the village numerous times.
Yes.
Yes.
And,
They can come find leaks and,
Well, yeah, they come up and help that. They also
yes.
are there when they have to deal with black bricks. So
Yes.
is it, if we had to call them, is it every time they come up, is it a charge? Or is it membership covers that?
I'm sure it would be a charge if they came up, I mean, for $260 membership fee, you know,
Yeah.
it's more for technical, you know, certain phone calls and
Right.
stuff like the Association of Towns,
Yes.
you know,
Just cross-referencing.
yeah, we call them and ask them questions, but,
Okay.
I know we used them once, at a water break on Ridge Road,
Okay.
and they came, they pinpointed it. It's right there, where the break was, they pretty well know. Okay, how they know. Very valuable service, to my
I
knowledge.
had a impromptu meeting with a guy at the parking lot one day, and he was up for the most recent water break. Interesting guy.
Do we-
We have a motion.
Get a motion in a second, yes.
Yes.
You need to vote.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
it's your prerogative, Mr.
Yeah.
Supervisor.
Any questions on the bills? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. You get some additional bills, Chris?
You gotta, no, but you gotta approve the water bills.
Okay.
And email that tomorrow.
Okay. Rebuilding, you got a list, Joe, give us tonight, this evening. Approve the bills that are going out for water usage. Let's put this to the top of the pile too.
and that time period that covers,
You don't do
Louis?
this?
No, that one's.
This is the
that
first
one, you don't
quarter.
have a choice.
The first quarter,
Well, it's
the last quarter,
Fourth quarter of 2017? Okay.
Yes.
so October, November, December.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else to bring before the board? Nothing else, Will?
No,
Anything else? Okay.
You survived.
Well,
Uh,
hope you learned.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You opposed? I want to know why.
Okay, let-
Thank you. Welcome anytime. Come back.
It is.
Do you have any questions, Dave?